everybody. We are back with True Crime with Just Julie. We were out last week because Just Julie had the plague, but now I'm back at it. So here we are. Uh, and so we are going to start with this week's hot news. We got last week's hot news to cover, and then we got a lot of updates. So let's get into it. But before we do, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss something from me, because who would want to do that? Okay, hot off the presses, y'all. So Patrick Beverly, last week the NBA handed down a 4-game suspension against Beverly because he had two back-to-back issues. I think incidences. I think maybe it was just a bad day that just kept getting worse. Who knows? But Beverly, this is wild to me. He threw a ball in the stands and hit a fan in the head with the ball. And then he asked for the ball back. And then when it got thrown back, he threw it back at the fan. So the cops are investigating because you can't throw balls at people's heads. But anyway, Beverly said via his podcast that his actions were inexcusable. He was really adamant about that. But he also said that he was called a word he's never been called before. So a little elaboration would be great. He had a run-in with the game after the game as well in the media circle with the ESPN producer, Melinda Adams. In a group interview, Beverly wouldn't answer Adams' questions because she wasn't subscribed to his podcast. Apparently, this is a question he asks everyone, and it's supposed to be kind of a joke, but I guess, I don't know, something got a little turned around this time. So he said he wouldn't answer her questions because she didn't subscribe, and then he told her to get her microphone out of his face, and then he later asked her to leave the interview circle. So in his podcast, he said he asks all the reporters that, and then he didn't mean to disrespect her. But the NBA is not thrilled because they got to keep up media relations to some extent, and it's a little too far. All right, then we got Edgar Lay. This is wild, y'all. So y'all might have recognized him. Soccer will be. They really went all out this week, but y'all might recognize him because he used to play for Barcelona. Right now he's playing in Romania, but there's a rumor buzzing around that's actually he changes places with his twin brother. So they both are football players, and sometimes people feel like the person that's playing is not Edgar, but it's Edgar, you know? So anyway, the jury is still very much out on this. There's been some rumors floating around about a DNA test that might be proposed for this. Who knows? Is it Edgar? We're not sure. We live in a weird world, folks. All right, so we don't normally talk outside of the English Premier League, but we have to make some exceptions, like Edgar, and then the Malaysian acid attack. This is wild. So the Malaysian winger, Faisal Halim, was the victim of an acid attack in a shopping mall outside of the country's capital. The 26-year-old, I guess he was just out shopping and he got splashed everywhere with the acid. It's really wild. And apparently the Malaysian team has been dealing with some violent or nearly almost violent incidences. He's one of a few, but his is definitely the most serious and it's terrifying. The 26-year-old has sustained multiple skin tissue transplants due to the fourth-degree burns that have affected like all of his speech and movements. I mean, fourth-degree burns can be fatal, so I mean, you kind of assume that it'll inhibit speech and movement, but I can't imagine. So he's had multiple skin tissue transplants. And but we are happy to report that after roughly 2 weeks in the ICU, he's back in a normal ward in the hospital as of Tuesday. So he's no longer in intensive care. So that is great to hear. He's sort of stabilizing and they no longer are worried about like his ability to like there's gonna be they're not anticipating any crashes, so to speak. So hopefully the skin grafts take. I mean, how scary. So we will definitely be following this. Okay, y'all. Did y'all know that there's such a thing as a laughing gas addict? Like, I'm definitely frequently in the dentist chair, and I do appreciate a little laughing gas, because it's usually not a lot of fun. But I had no idea that you could be an addict to it. So here we are. Um, you can. You learn something new every day because I had no idea that this addiction exists. But so there's an English Premier League player who's been in rehab for this addiction before, but he was readmitted for treatment last month after a teammate called worried that the man had been abusing the gas. So when the police arrived, they actually found him surrounded by canisters full of the happy gas. Uh, just like in his apartment, just canisters everywhere. So, and the team is aware of this funny business. So we'll be following that. And I have a lot of questions. So, okay, so Mel Hall. I told you 2 weeks ago that they're gonna have that new New York Yankees docuseries about 1990 and how wild of a year that was. And so um I guess they are bringing these issues back, and so we're gonna talk about Mel Hall because he was covered. Um and now he's a main title. So here we are. Currently, Hall is in jail as of 2009 for essaying two underage girls that he coached in youth basketball in the late 1990s. He has a 45-year sentence, so he'll be there for a while, but that's not what was getting covered in the documentary because it was late 1990s. They're going with 1990. Anyway, so instead, the doc dishes on Hall's 15-year-old girlfriend that he would show around the stadium in 1990. And there was no real ramifications because he played with the Yankees for another 2 seasons. They didn't give a fuck. So the fact that he moved in with, okay, so yeah, brace yourselves, y'all. He moved in with her starstruck family and as in his girlfriend and her parents and whoever else and his girlfriend's parents went as far as to give the biggest bedroom to the couple, and then they moved into their daughter's previous room so that they had more room. I'm like, what in the Wander Franco is going on? Anyway, he called the child's parents mom and pops. And he said he appreciated the family unit because it was good to be a part of that unit at that time because really, I was a live wire, so it really settled me down. Cue the goat scream. All right. Um, Carolina Hurricanes. They didn't learn from what happened in Patriot Land apparently because there's a human hurricane last week. So last Saturday, a man was punched in the face and kicked in the head outside of the PNC Arena. Um, and as of Monday, no arrests have been made. Fans were holding back Rangers men wearing Rangers gear who may have been related to the incident, and it appears, uh, well, they said everybody was on edge, and apparently the Rangers fans are not good losers, because they lost the game, and so a man had to be assaulted, apparently. So we'll be following this case too. Championship ring frauds. This is wild, and it happens more often than you'd think, but U.S. Customs and Borders caught a large shipment of fake NFL, NBA, and NBA championship rings in Rochester, New York, or MLB, I think I was NFL, NBA, and MLB championship rings in Rochester. This month. And then in March, Cincinnati police caught a shipment of fake Super Bowl rings from Hong Kong that if they had all been real, would have been worth over $2 million. This um this catch was a little less. I think it was only like several thousand, but still, like, it's wild. So if you're getting a ring, really be careful because there's a lot of frauds out there apparently. Glenn Davis. Glenn Big Baby Davis. Don't know if you heard about this one, but he's receiving a 40-month sentence, and 3 years supervised release, with mandatory drug treatment and financial management classes, along with an $80,000 restitution, over a fraudulent NBA scheme. So 22 people, 18 of which played in the NBA, have been sentenced for filing false medical claims with the NBA players' health and benefits welfare plan. I guess Davis was one of really really went ham on this, so that's why he's getting one of those stricter sentences. I guess, yeah, they filed false claims, and so they got money. Um, they haven't really gone too much into what that looked like, but if we find out, we'll let you know. Davis is viewing this as an opportunity to lose some weight because he'll be separated from hamburgers and Cheetos. Apparently, he has not heard of commissary. Um, and his former partner is elated that she dodged a big baby bullet. She said that he lied about the extent of his legal trouble. And she said last year, this is the same woman who said that Davis got her prego, bullied her into a abortion, and ghosted her for the medical bills. And he denied forcing her to have the abortion, but nothing else. So, yeah. Big Baby Davis in jail. All right. Terrence Shannon Jr. Um, all this like content that I look at the NBA Youngboy, the rapper, is always coming up, and he is never not in jail. Maybe, or not, he's not in jail, but he's always facing some kind of criminal something, allegedly. So maybe we should start talking about him because without fail, he pops up every single week. So anyway, Terrence Shannon Jr., Illinois star, is facing court and the draft around the same time. Busy guy. He was at the NBA draft combine on Tuesday. He's hoping to even get into the NBA after he was originally going to be a first rounder. And why is that? Because he's going to court on June 10th for felony rap and felony uh, aggravated assault. And he was suspended 6 games in college, but then got to keep playing after the alleged rap and assault. And the school dropped their investigation in April. And so nobody cares, so that's great. Apparently the justice system does, so thank goodness somebody caught it. And so far Shannon Jr. has pled not guilty. So we will see how that turns out. Christian Wood. Okay, brace yourselves again, y'all. Last week, Wood came forward saying he didn't do any DV against his ex. She said that he grabbed her by the legs and drug her in front of the couple's infant. Well, infant at the time. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, he received sole custody of the couple's son, Kobe. He also has a permanent restraining order against his ex. And in order for the father to get sole custody, it's something because our system is very much set to not do that. He has a permanent restraining order because his former girl has broken on his property like multiple times and attempted to break into the house and damage his car in separate incidences for like the last year. Okay, and then this one, put this in your bingo card for 2024. She also allegedly bit a woman in the eye for over 2 minutes straight when she fought an Insta model. It's not clear why, but does it matter? She bit this lady in the eye, and the lady said she was holding on to it for like 2 minutes. Like, just I I have questions. There probably will be a movie about Christian Wood's ex. All right, so Daniels and neighbors. The former LSU players had a bet against each other that they would win the NFL Rookie of the Year for 10K, and the No Fun League's gambling policy apparently prohibits that. So, there goes that bet, according to the gents. They are not even going to argue this because the gambling policy is wild and nobody is quite clear where it stands. So, the No Fun League strikes again, at least officially. And then in the Brady roast, Tom Brady has come out with his big feelings. He said he regrets the roast because some of the jokes about the divorce negatively affected his kids. So he wouldn't do it again for the sake of his kids. He thought the jokes about him were funny, but the ones about his family, I guess, were too low brow. But it wasn't even his family, it was his divorce. But it's like, look, Nikki Glazer said it, and I had kind of have to agree. You didn't see this one coming, that they weren't going to talk about the divorce, and maybe just don't have your kids watch it. I don't know. But like, this is basically one of those like obvious consequences. So he's come out and his feelings are hurt, y'all. But it's for his kids. All right, now if that wasn't bug nuts enough, then we gotta talk about last week's hot off the presses. A little outdated, but still definitely worth the watch. All right. We have Gwen Williams here. So Gwen Williams, we discovered Tuesday that the Football Association issued a lifetime ban in 2019 to former Chelsea's coach Gwen Williams. Um, yeah, so the hot goss just leaked that he was banned as of 2019. He was brought to a high court case, which means something really important in England or Europe, where he settled with four former youth football players over racial abuse in 2022. Williams was determined by the Football Association to be racist and a child bully by the FA's safeguarding team. Um, I don't feel like America has an official "you are racist," but maybe we should. They didn't release the ban because it re-traumatizes the victims or makes you look bad, whatever you want to say. But anyway, um, it felt a little dark to just start off this week's news with people who died. So instead we started with a racist child bully, and now we'll discuss The Departed. So Darius Morris, the ex-Lakers point guard, passed away on May 2nd, in a private residence with no known cause of death at this time. So, R.I.P. Darius, he was only 33. Oh, I guess I don't have a photo of Jimmy Johnson, but the Football Hall of Famer and former San Fran cornerback Jimmy Johnson passed away on May 8th at 86. No cause of death has been revealed, but RIP to Jimmy Johnson. Sandro Tonelli. So this soccer player here, this 23-year-old midfielder, has already received 2 bans for what his agent refers to as a gambling illness. They're taking the addiction as an illness thing very seriously. He was first banned by the Italian Football Federation for 10 months in October, and then the Newcastle United player received a 2-month suspended sentence by the FA this week. So it was 2 sentences for like the same offense, but in 2 different leagues. He will be unable to play in the 2024-2025 season. And that was because he confessed to making up 40 to 50 football bets with up to 4 being bet on Newcastle. So apparently, this is a global issue, and people really have balls of steel out here. trying to bet on their own games. Okay. So we had a French soccer fan arrested, so hence the what are they called again? The French desserts. All right. A soccer fan was arrested last week by the French police in Marseille. A visiting Atalanta fan was arrested after there's video evidence of one fan doing a salute, if you know what I mean. It rhymes with Razzi. And another doing monkey chants and mimicking a primate. It's unclear which fan was detained and what's going to, if it was Razzi guy or primate intimidator, but either way, one of them got arrested. We should try that in Spain. Okay, so this is wild. Dennis Eckersley. Um, probably our more seasoned watchers will definitely know who he is. He's a Hall of Famer, played 24 seasons, a Cleveland pitcher and former Boston Red Sox broadcaster. His daughter Alexandra has lived a lot of life and she's only 27. So, most recently, she allegedly didn't know that she was pregnant when she had her son alone in the woods in New Hampshire in her tent. She was unhoused, or she was homeless. Um, Baby Eckersley was left in a tent for over an hour by himself in 15-degree weather without heat or the proper clothing. The mother has recently been reunited with her baby, with parent support after taking parenting classes, with her parent support, and after taking the parenting classes. A man involved in this case pled guilty to child endangerment and was sentenced to 1 year in jail. Alexandra pled not guilty to charges and is facing trial in July. And if that doesn't wipe the smile off of Dennis Eckersley's face, I don't know what will. The NFL draft. During the draft, 3 people were arrested and 14 women attempting to escape human trafficking were saved. So we love to hear it. That sounds like a small number, especially when it was such a big issue, and is always a big issue in big sporting events. I think it's been really nice of Detroit to be really open about how such large sporting events can sort of cause things like this to happen in cities and their preparation plans, because maybe this can continue to happen where cities are preparing and people can be saved and held accountable for the people who are arrested. So yeah, one woman was from Missouri and 24 who flew down to the draft, and she had 5 children, 7 and younger, who were down the hallway from her at the hotel, which is wild. Um, Apparently, finding children during stings is not really unusual, but 5 was to a well-seasoned Detroit detective. So that was just one anecdote of someone who received help as a result, but really sad. The Philip Adams lawsuits. So I don't know if y'all remember, but in 2021, Adams killed 6 people in South Carolina, including 2 children, before he took his own life. He didn't have any, it was a very spur of the moment. He didn't seem to have a relationship with anyone. He just did it. The 32-year-old was diagnosed with CTE postpartum, and now the family is attempting to sue the NFL for a wrongful death brain injury lawsuit in South Carolina. It feels like a big deal. Maybe this happens more often than we know, because that part didn't seem to be really heavily emphasized in the news. And more so, they're talking about how the NFL wants to move the case to a federal court, and the family wants to keep it in South Carolina. And yeah, not sure why. Probably maybe the difference between state and federal laws. I don't trust the NFL to do a whole lot above board when it comes to lawsuits. So I'm sure they have their reasons, but it'll be really interesting to follow this and just rest in peace to all those victims. It's really important, I think, to talk about just how dangerous CTE can be because we're very cavalier about the topic, but it can be really dangerous. Especially when it comes, I mean, often a person only hurts themselves, but it's also not, which is a lot of people do that. It's really a public health concern. A lot of former players take their own lives, but then also a lot of them are um sometimes take violence against other people, and in a few cases like Philip, it goes really, really far. So it's not to vilify anyone or make anyone sound dangerous or um you know trying to knock anyone or anything like that. It's just we need to be aware so that we can prevent things like this, because one life lost is too much, and it's just an uncomfortable fact and a reality that we need to be more open to the fact that CTE is real. It causes these kind of things, and only for the purpose of finding care for people before it rises to this occasion. So, Javon Porter. Um, I've had way too many Porter brothers on my weekly rosters recently. The latest brother, Javon, was pulled over in Missouri at the beginning of the month, April 27th, or last end of last month, April 27th, at 1:31 a.m. for speeding and suspicion of a DWI. The 20-year-old just signed with the Loyola Marymount in March, and the school is investigating the matter. And yeah, Buster Scrine. So Scrine is a mastermind. Y'all didn't know, but he is. He's worked on his way back onto the list with Bashad Breland, just like he entered the first time. It was Buster and Bashad when we first started, and they are back, y'all. Um, we call this full circle, folks, because as we discussed last year, Skyne is believed to have a thriving check frauding scheme for over 9 months in Canada. And now, he had been waiting for trial in Canadian jail, as of last August, and then he was granted bail on Tuesday, April 6th, with a GPS bracelet. The former NFL player was called to appear for a scheduled court date on Monday, which would be about 2 weeks ago, and his GPS bracelet went offline, and Buster's on the run. So talk about compiling charges, and now, as far as I know, he still has not been caught. So Buster's on the run, y'all. Buster is on the run. We have a little bit more about the Adam Johnson situation. This is pretty wild. Um, Wildly anticlimactic, I guess, is one way we could put it. Because let me see. Matt Petgrave, the guy on the left, who was the one who delivered the slicey slice to Adam Johnson's neck that led to his demise. He is got rebailed again. So, but for a third time, things are a little bit different wherever they are. I think it's Canada in terms of they like bail and rebail people, and they have like shorter bail periods. I mean, in America you can be bailed for like on bail for years, but that's not really how it goes down in Canada. So he got rebailed again until June 26th. So we will see. Um just put on ice again. All right, so we got Milan Lucic, and Canadian junior hockey team here. So Lucic is filing for joint custody of the kids. even though his soon-to-be ex-wife requested sole custody. So things are getting spicy in court, and things are spicy here too because I am still recovering from the plague. So don't mind my pronunciation issues. So the Canadian Junior Hockey 5. Quick update, the date could be scheduled as soon as June for the trial, and we're ready for it. Justice. Okay. And then Reggie Bush. Um, Getting his trophy back wasn't good enough for Bush and or me, either Reggie, because Reggie's not dropping his lawsuit that he filed against the NCAA 8 months ago, just because he got his trophy back, which I think it appears maybe that's what they were hoping. You get your trophy back, maybe you'll stop suing me. No. So he sued the NCAA for defamation, saying that his trophy being taken hurt his overall image. It did. If the NCAA thought the trophy was enough to compensate for their mistakes, they were dead wrong. Let's go, Reggie. All right. And then we got Henry here. This was okay. Like, this was a little bit much for me. Um, and don't mind, I have notes in a lot of different places this week. So if you see me going through my pages and notes I did for y'all, that's why. Okay, so last Friday, which would be 2 Fridays ago now, Saban uh was in the news for saying something that related to Henry that I continued to be grossly unfair when he spoke at the Irondale mayor's prayer breakfast. And he was quoted saying about Ruggs night of the incident. Um he had friends that could have told him you shouldn't be driving. I'm not going to let you drive. But why did his friends not do that? Because they were afraid of what the guys would have thought of them, what the guy would have thought of them if they told him to do that. So then Saban went on with his little personal press tour or something, and he said, I guess my faith has helped me always have the courage and the confidence to tell people this is the right thing to do. A few thoughts on that. Wow, another white man in power talking about things that are none of his business. Um, Another thought was it's wrong to talk about an incident you weren't around for because you don't know what people said or didn't say and what their motives were. Putting the responsibility of a life being lost on other people is wrong. Leave the guilt at Ruggs' feet where it belongs. Also, Saban, you don't have to knock somebody else's crown off their head to show off yours. You don't have to put others down when you want to teach a lesson or talk about your own strengths. And I think Nick Saban has some personal work to do. Um, I think there should probably be like a permanent trigger warning when it comes to topics, the true crime tailgate update, but I really want to put one especially here because we're going to go into detail on SA and it can definitely be really upsetting. So if you don't want to hear this, click off and then I will um probably be done in about 2 minutes, but definitely take care of yourself and I will let y'all know when I'm done talking about him. So just a trigger warning here. It's hard enough to see a stand-up teenager, Hylan Rogers, who's barely an adult, 18, who is an alleged serial rapist, but now he allegedly is a diabolical manipulator too. Oh, my star. Um, so the first victim, um, I just want to point this out. The victim should never feel bad, but especially not for their body's responses in survival mode. Apparently the first victim and Rogers had been talking on Instagram where the young lady said she was not interested in having X the first time they met and alluded to past SA, which Tylen had the goddamn nerve to apologize for her past negative experiences before creating another one. When I tell you this has me more steamed than a steamed roll, I am not exaggerating. The second victim expressed prior negative experiences with the police, which discouraged her from wanting to come forward, which is a perfectly understandable um and separate awful can of worms. And she's courageous, and both of the women are. The second young lady, who was 21, reported a very different vibe, indicating an escalation of behavior on Roger's side. So the young lady had dealt with enough actual harassment in the past that she was finding it difficult to not put this assault aside mentally, like she had so many times before. Um, and like us ladies know that this is not a unique experience, and that these young ladies are experiencing really normal things, unfortunately. And so it happens. Um, And in that second case, as soon as he got in the apartment, he ripped her clothes off, slapped her, and threw her on the bed. She fought the entire time this assault was happening, and nothing stopped him. A little special note here for all the asshats who ask, but did you fight? It took this young lady a bit longer to rationalize what happened and come forward. There's no wrong response to trauma either. And so just kind of talking about the ins and outs of situation, different responses. Um, there was no wrong response to trauma. I'm just going to say that one more time. If you or anyone you know need to speak about a crisis or considering self-harm, please call or text 988. Um, this is this is beyond diabolical to me. Uh, Rushy Rice. Oh, heaven help us. Rashi Rice is back at it. Allegedly on May 6th, Rice was at a club with an individual. The alleged victim left, a cameraman, and then was brought back to the club by Rashi's request, apparently. Um, the man came back saying he thought Rice wanted him to take photos. Allegedly, Rice requested that um, the victim look at his phone, and I'm like, what is with it when looking at phones this week? Um, when the alleged victim did, he reported that Royce allegedly had punched him in the face. Police reports indicate that the man's face was swelling on one side. Bizarre. And just, he lured him back just to do. I have questions. I have questions. But then we also have a little update on an update because because people are coming for his SMU situation too, apparently. He had a little trouble in college. Allegedly, another man was seeing Rashi's girl, and while the man was playing collegiate basketball, Rice rolled up with friends and then fired bullets into the empty car. So people are like, this is a pattern. Who knows, but it's getting wild out here. We know that. Um, Antonio Brown. There is never any shortage of nonsense from Brown. He can't help himself because, despite recent kind words and an invitation for an interview on CTE SPN on Jason Whitlock's podcast, he had to finish out with, if it's Harry, don't worry about it, when speaking about Caitlin Clark. He's also still on the prowl for taking women, inviting his ex Keisha Cole back. Apparently she's experiencing trouble with her current relationship, and he's like, I'll catch ya. Along with a lot of others, like taking women like Giselle, but anyway, or she was. He's also the butt of a Kevin Hart joke at the Tom Brady's roast when Kevin said Giselle plus one for the night was AB. Um, in other notes, in a moment of self-awareness, AB was able to be honest that his dislike of Juju Smith-Schuster was more so a wounded ego and was a result of him not enjoying the feeling of being replaced. Amazing how Brown is relatable when he's being open and honest. He should try that more often. Um, so as of this very current week, he's coming for people in really creative ways. He posted a photo of a pot full of rubber mail parts on a stove saying Shannon Sharp cooking up his favorite homemade recipe. Meek Mill posted a selfie where his T-zone looks like he's ashy there, or he has something on his face. It definitely looks like sunscreen, something. AB asked whose children are on his face, which is a legit question in this case. Um, and we going back to Terrell Suggs, the Starbucks incident has escalated for Mr. Suggs, and the former NFL player has been charged with felony disorderly conduct involving a weapon and a misdemeanor intimidation. Suggs will be back in court in June. Mel. So, um, recently, Mel Tucker won his lawsuit against Brenda Tracy. He won't be in trouble for releasing the text of personal conversations between Tracy and a peer. Um, so that happened this week in court, and it's dismissed with prejudice, which means it can't be refiled. And also that money that Mel Tucker's soon-to-be ex-wife said he stole, he says he needs it to sue the school, not use it for legal fees with her. So that's an interesting turn of events. It sounds like there'll be lawsuits for days around here. John Gruden, I'm really sad about this, but the Nevada Supreme Court sided with the NFL, saying take it to arbitration. So Gruden isn't because he was a former employee, so they felt like it should be dealt with there. Gruden isn't backing down though, and he's seeking a hearing before the Supreme Court judges. Go, Gruden, go. Like, we want to see this, okay? You can't take this from us. We need to see what really happened. All right. Another week, another Tyreek Hill story, as we say around here. So Hill is gonna be a dad again. How many kids does that mean and does that make for him? We'll check back when the paternity suits are sorted out, because we're not sure either. He probably isn't sure either. Hill is also requesting Sophie, the social media influencer who says that Tyreek allegedly broke her leg. He's requesting that she provide all medical records regarding the incident. And he is like, I don't know if I remember the Tyreek show back in the day, but she was always kind of dressing up as different things for the show. And that is Tyreek now because after pretending to be elderly in town earlier this year, now he's pretending to be a teen in his youth football camp. It didn't work, and the kids called him out by name. Next time, Hill. There's also videos showing Hill getting owned by a child and his fragile man-pride ticket. Let's see here. So with the KC parade shooting this week, we're going to talk about a really interesting phenomenon that often goes undiscussed. Bullet wound victims. So people who caught stray bullets on the parade talk bullet removal. James Lemons, 39, wants his thigh bullet removed. Sarai Holguin, 71, said that the bullet lodged near her knee is her compa or close friend. And a young minor lady, 15, was shot through her jaw and broke her shoulder. And there's fragments still there. So doctors will be testing her lead values in her blood for 2 years to see if they need to come out. Surprisingly, after a little research, bullets are left in far more often than not. Digging through can enhance the wound trauma. That's one reason, but typically a patient's desire and or pain inspires the removal of the bullet. For example, Lemons couldn't actually afford bullet removal surgery pre-donations. That's getting taken care of now, but due to losing his last job in health insurance as a result of the incident, America. Interestingly, sometimes bullet fragments actually work their way to the surface like a splinter, so that's a very real and kind of scary possibility for the young lady, and it's not something medical professionals always remember to tell people. So, fascinating quick lesson on bullet removal here at True Crime. All right. Next up, we have Chiefsaholic. So a true crime doc is already in the works for for this case in Chiefsaholic, which is we were just discussing in the last like 2 weeks ago that that a woman was granted a certain amount of money, one of his victims, um because of the emotional trauma, maybe just emotional, I can't remember if it's physical too, but, he owes her several million because of, she was someone that he, like, held up, and, she was a bank teller, like, in one of his robberies, and so now, she could get some of her money, back because of this, true crime doc, so that's great, and an interesting dynamic when it comes to, money and um getting, like, it's kind of like OJ Simpson's book getting signed over to the Goldmans, but in the 2020s. So there we go. Trey Hawley. So it appears that someone may have been recently arrested for the M charge that Trey Hawley was tied to earlier this year and will not be charged for after the evidence was shown to the um I forget what it was. But anyway, they found out that he didn't have enough evidence, and so those charges were dismissed, but apparently possibly somebody else has been detained for that. So a little justice. I will never change this Jason Kelsey photo in case anybody's wondering. But can the Caseys can the Kelseys say anything anymore? Because Jason Kelsey had to go on Twitter apologizing the last weekend for saying Triple Crown winner Secretariat was on roids during his during their historic run in 1973. And that really put people up in arms, and I just have to say that all the people who have enough spare time on their hands to get that upset about a Secretariat tweet need a hobby or possibly one of my mini jobs. I don't know. Either way. Tank Dell, the teenager who shot Tank Dell and 9 others at the club last month, is officially going to be charged as an adult. Um, one person one person who was shot is allegedly still in the hospital as of May 14th, which is surprising and shows that not everything was minor. But the 16-year-old is facing 5 counts of attempted second-degree M and one charge of a minor in possession of a firearm and in connection to the shooting. So he's getting charged as a minor, but as an anyway. Little baseball. We head into baseball town. Okay, and Wander Franco is first up. On Tuesday, we got positive word on the Franco front. The DR is planning to present formal accusations against Wander as they relate to the 14-year-old victim we discussed before in June. The legal system is a bit different than ours, and the prosecutors are taking their time to create a rock solid case, but they in here, and and justice is around the corner, y'all. Okay, so Shohei Ohtani. I'm not really sure why I put all of the slides so closely together for this, but we did. So enjoy that closeness for this slide. Um so is this the top scandal of the year? Quite possibly, because Ohtani's interpreter funneled money to the Real Housewives of Orange County star Ryan Boyajian. Ryan has been besties with Matthew Bauer for 20 years. So that clears up a few details on the ring we discussed last week. And Mizuhara has pled guilty to taking 17 million from Shohei. More recently, Mizuhara pled not guilty to one count of bank fraud and one of tax fraud as a formality for his plea deal on Tuesday. So part of Musahar's plea deal is paying Otani 17 mil, and then the IRS 1 mil and 30 plus years of jail is on the table as well. Um, some are saying that Otani definitely knew about the scandal. Some being Tim Donahue, yeah, Donahue, the former infamous NBA referee, so he knows a lot about this topic. Um, so again, he's probably the expert on this, but we'll wait to find out. Um, and Lionsgate TV is already slated to make a show on the scandal. So there we go. Chiefsaholic and Otani. Next, we have Julio Arias. In case we didn't discuss it, last week or 2 weeks ago now, Urias pled no contest to his one count of misdemeanor domestic battery. Julio has been placed on 3 years of summary probation, which means that he's held accountable to the court, not a probation officer. That's what summary probation means. He has 30 days of community labor, a 52-week DV counseling course, a DV fund fee, he has to pay restitution to the victim, abide by a protective order, and not possess any weapons or use any force of violence during his probation. And oh, I guess there are no updates on him. My bad. Oh, right. So talking about the pants here. And let's get into the pants. So Riley Green ripped his second pair of see-through pants, re-victimizing himself and the fans. Green was the first casualty of the pants in May, um, although that he did it last in April as well. After his last butt-bearing experience in April, his mother called him and said, um, she said that she washed thousands of his clothes, and she's never seen any pants split like that. Throughout all of his life. So he bored he bared some cloth covered booty when his pants split again when he was sliding to the second base 2 Fridays ago. He threw up his hands with frustration. It is going to be a long season, y'all, but maybe a little shorter because rumor has it that the changes to the pants could come this season for the gray road uniforms, and we may not have to wait until the end of the season. So, a little light on the horizon. The Dodgers front office and players made it clear that flashing what their mothers gave them doesn't bother them. So that's great. They actually went to the media letting them know we don't mind having a Riley Green situation over here. So cool. Yep. Good stuff. Okay, and then we have this is actually the Jackie Robinson statue theft situation here, but like those are like the remnants that they found like where the trash can had been burned, so this is like kind of holy ground here. um Let me see. Yes. Okay, so Ricky Alderete pled guilty last Thursday to the theft and other crimes related to the statue stealing incident. He's potentially facing 19 years in jail when he's going to be sentenced on July 1st. He also has to pay restitution to the community's local youth baseball org of $41,500. And just as an update, the other men involved in the case have not been arrested at this time, but we would love if they want to get to that. That would be cool too. So the Utah women's basketball team, the racist incident. Um, Idaho is exactly as we thought it was, folks. After extensive investigation, the police were able to identify the individuals in the vehicle where the racial slur was shouted out of, and they had narrowed it down to an individual who's an 18-year-old high school student. Just as a recap, at the Utah women's basketball team was in Coeur d'Alene because they couldn't get housing closer to where the NCAA tournament was happening. So, and they had racial slurs shouted at them when they entered a restaurant and then left it. Um, so, according to an Idaho law, an individual yelling the N word out of a vehicle at people is not disturbing the peace or disorderly conduct, um, and also a free speech. So, yeah. Um, so just in case anybody was wondering, there are no consequences if you shout out racial slurs in Idaho. That's a lesson you want to teach. So, as an update to the update, allegedly the 18-year-old thought he was being funny, was trying to be funny. Like, that fucking matters. What a stupid detail for them to include in the news. So people are pissed about the outcome, of course. And Janetta Williams, president of the NAACP Salt Lake division, responded, "There is a huge difference between freedom of speech and hate speech. There needs to be consequences for their actions. If not, it will happen again. It is my hope that the NCAA will take into consideration um, cities that are known to have radical groups to not hold their tournament in these places." And Coeur d'Alene has that history. Hear the goat scream. Chance Comanche. So Comanche and his alleged accomplice appeared in court last week to request that the kidnapping charges attached to their charges, their murder charges, um, so they got charged with kidnapping the victim before they offed her. They want those charges to be dropped, and the judge said no, and they pled not guilty to those charges. Um, and they'll be back in court on July 3rd because that's what they need to be worrying about. Um, Cue the goat scream again. I don't know. Okay, so Kyle Walker, Mr. Infidelity, has been invited back to the family home with Annie Kilner and their sons because new baby, no problems. This past weekend, they attended Colleen and Wayne Rooney's mega mansion for a footballer party. Um, oh, the bank holiday bash. And it must be a European thing. Anyway, apparently the couple were acting frosty with Kyle firmly in the doghouse, and the tension was strong. Annie invited Walker back in the home, but he doesn't get a hall pass, apparently. Ever. An update to the update. Annie and Kyle are taking a public unified front saying, "We won't let Lauren Goodman split us up again." Like she's some force against them. It's ridiculous. Walker created this problem and he needs to take the consequences. And that has nothing to do with Lauren. She can't do anything alone. Maybe don't impregnate her twice, Kyle. Like, he's the big problem in the relationship. It has nothing to do. If it wasn't Lauren, it would be someone else. Like taking a stance against her is pointless, but whatever. And on that note, when Lauren's kids ask about their dad, Goodman tells them that he has to do football and go to school to learn how to be a good daddy. She says her friends are going through it, so it might be an age thing. So apparently, every girl in Lauren Goodman's circle has their kids asking them where Chad is. Nah, girl. That's what fucking a married man does. And kids don't do that if their dads are around. It sounds like a hoedown of a good time around their corner. Whew. Okay, Angel Di Maria. Angel may join Messi in Miami, although more recent updates have indicated that's very unlikely, and he may stay in Portugal. But what he's not going to do is go back to Argentina after the death threats. So that's a very wise choice in and his decision making there. Other people should try that, being wise in their decision making. Okay. Um. So Luis Rubiales is back in the news because officially Rubiales will be going to court for SA in Madrid, although the dates are unclear. I didn't realize this wasn't official before, but now it is officially official. So he'll be facing a SA charge and a coercion charge. We were discussing the coercion a few weeks ago, so that is moving forward. Rubiales is facing 18 months in jail and has a bail of £65,000 for the SA charge and a split bail between four people of £65,000 with Missa Vilda, Leque, and Riveria for coercion. So, apparently in Spain you can split a bail, which is really interesting. We are learning all about bails around the world in this podcast, okay? And that's priceless. So, uh let's talk golf, y'all. Let us talk golf. This is so in just 1 week, 2 weeks ago, but still 1 week, there are an entire roster of golf crimes. And I'm serious, like golf is no joke. So in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, a car drove onto a golf course, damaged the course in several places, and nearly hit golfers. Police posted photos of the car on last Tuesday, trying to find the victim, trying to find the car and the man in the car. So, no safe for no one, okay? Early on Sunday morning, a crime spree began in Georgia's Douglas Golf and Country Club. Two adults and two juveniles went through the golf club neighborhood and entered several vehicles before they took a 2006 Ford Escape. They politely took out the couple's children's things in the car, like car seats and stuff. So that was a kind thing for them to do. The people took the car to a new county and put new plates on it. Early Monday morning, the car was driving without its lights on, so an arrest was attempted, and they were caught after a dangerous pit stop in Douglas County. No one was hurt, and the car is likely no longer drivable. How helpful for the person who had a stolen car. Pit stops are stupid. Anyway, golf carts are really a hotspot for issues because in Youngsville, Louisiana, they are dealing with an uptick in young children driving around the city in golf carts. Carts are road legal in a few places in Youngsville, but with that comes licenses, permits, and no kids. A golf cart is still in the loose in Union, New York. It was stolen from a campground and is missing its front bumper, so that feels like a distinguishing factor for people to look out for. Two carts and some clubs were stolen in Odessa, Washington around noon last Friday at Odessa Golf and RV. The total stolen was $25K. So they stole them right under their noses. In Groves County, Kentucky, officials are looking for a golf cart stolen in front of a Dollar General in Fancy Farm. That Fancy Farm neighborhood. The suspect, a white man with tattoos and long hair. So that really clears things up for us all. Especially there in Groves County, Kentucky. And two women of the last story of the golf week, two women from Missouri were vacationing in Florida and were arrested in the villages in the it's an apartment complex called the Villages in a village in Florida called Citrus Grove. The women screamed, spit, pushed, punched, and pulled each other's hair over a golf cart and Disney World tickets. Both women were arrested for battery. Golf cart life is a serious one, everybody. So we like to go over some of our more wild golf incidents, and there is never any shortage. And In terms of Penske and their cheating scandal, Chevrolet said that they knew nothing about the Penske scandal and that they hired an independent law firm to investigate if any GM people were involved. So we have a lot of companies: Chevrolet, GM, Penske. Several Team Penske members will get kicked off the crew for this month's Indianapolis Motor Speedway race after after an internal review. Team Prez Tim Syndic, Managing Director Ron Ruzewski, and engineers Luke Mason and Robbie Atkinson will all be suspended for 2 races. The cars of the problematic software are banned, and Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin lost their first and third place designations. Will Power came in fourth. He had the software, but he didn't use it, and the team was fined, and Power was docked 10 seconds. However, he is not letting this get him down, and he is still very serious about getting out there. So that is something. Yep. So Penske is putting people on suspension. Cue the goat scream. Okay, so BPJ. Lawsuits are flying fast and furious around here. A high school track athlete has joined a national title IX lawsuit saying BPJ made inappropriate actual comments to her and prevented her from having a safe and level playing field in competition, which we have debunked. That's them saying like, oh, they had an advantage and that's why they won, whatever. Anyway, it's unclear why all these matters are being squished together as though they correlate. If BPJ is in fact harassing people, that needs to be addressed, but it has nothing to do with athletics. And we will keep an eye on this mess. I mean, the things that this girl is saying that BPJ said were pretty bad, especially for someone so young. We'll just keep an eye on things. Anyway, Ryan Garcia, in another edition of CTE SPN, Garcia tweeted allegations that he made sweet lovin' to George Canobosa's wife, or something like that. It was maybe a little more vulgar than that, but anyway. Devin Haney wants his defeat overturned in light of potential PEDs that Garcia may have taken. And so on that note, Garcia's backup P samples are going to be tested for PEDs on May 22nd, so we can finally put all this to rest. Because there's debate. Was this present? Was that present? We don't know what was present, so on the 22nd, we're going to totally clarify, and then that'll help resolve whether or not Haney, if the defeat should be overturned or not. What won't be overturned is those awful tweets that are now cemented in our mind as Garcia talks about somebody else's wife. So, good times. That is all that we have for you today. Thank you for bearing with me and my NyQuil, and I cannot wait to be more coherent next week for our podcast, and so we'll see you then. Okay, bye.